The great council hall stretched out like a metal canyon, its walls lined with viewing platforms where hundreds of alien beings gathered. This was Galactic Council Station Omega-7, the most important meeting place in known space. Representatives from every corner of the galaxy came here to discuss matters of war, peace, and trade. Ambassador Hana stood at the human delegation's platform, her hands clasped behind her back. She wore the formal blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps, and her expression remained calm despite the laughter echoing through the chamber. Next to her stood Tai Yang, a young man with sharp eyes who carried a data tablet, and Minho, their security officer who kept scanning the room with professional concern. The laughter came from the Vrexian section. The Vrexians were massive beings, each one standing nearly 3 meters tall with thick gray skin like armor plating. Their ambassador, a war leader named Krex, pointed at the human delegation with one of his 4 arms. "Look at them." Krex's voice boomed through the translation system. "Soft skin, weak bones. They break if you push them too hard. These are the newest members of our council, these prey animals." More laughter rippled through the chamber. The insectoid Krixathi clicked their mandibles in amusement. The floating gas beings of Nephara pulsed with colors that their translator identified as mockery. Even the usually polite Solarians seemed to find humor in humanity's presence. Hana had expected this. Earth had only achieved faster-than-light travel 15 years ago. Humanity was the newest species to join the galactic community, and they were indeed physically weaker than most species here. The average human weighed less than a Vrexian child. Human lifespans were shorter. Human technology was primitive, compared to civilizations that had been traveling the stars for thousands of years. "Ambassador Hana," a melodic voice called out. It belonged to the luminal chorus, a collective consciousness that spoke through crystal speakers. "Your species requested full council membership, yet you bring nothing to offer. No superior weapons, no advanced technology, no physical prowess. Tell us, what exactly do humans contribute to the galactic community?" Hana stepped forward to the speaking platform. Every eye, sensor, and perception organ in the chamber focused on her. She felt the weight of not just this moment but of all human history. Everything humanity had struggled for, survived, and achieved led to this point. "Honored members of the council," she began, her voice steady and clear. "Humanity may be young in the stars, but we are not without value. We have survived and thrived on our world through adaptability. We have learned to understand the universe around us, to work with nature rather than simply dominating it. We have developed skills that might surprise you." "Surprise us?" Krex laughed again. "What could you possibly show us that we have not seen before?" "We have conquered death worlds. We have tamed beasts that would tear your people apart. We have built empires while your species was still learning to make fire." The Krixathi ambassador spoke next, her voice like wind through hollow tubes. "The Vrexians speak truth. Look at your fragile form. Your thin skin offers no protection. You have no natural weapons, no armor, no venom. In the wild spaces of the galaxy, your kind would last mere moments. You are prey, not predators." Taeyang leaned close to Hana and whispered urgently, "Ambassador, perhaps we should table this discussion. Request more time to prepare evidence of our capabilities." But Hana shook her head slightly. She had not come here to retreat. She raised her voice again. "Members of the council, I understand your skepticism. I request permission to provide a demonstration at our next session. A practical demonstration of human capabilities that I believe will address your concerns." The chamber fell quieter. The luminal chorus consulted with itself in flashes of light before responding. "What sort of demonstration do you propose, Ambassador?" Hana chose her words carefully. "A demonstration of human interaction skills, our ability to understand and communicate with other species, even those considered dangerous or impossible to approach." This brought a new wave of reaction through the chamber. Some delegates seemed intrigued. Others appeared more amused than before. Krex's booming laugh echoed again. "Interaction skills? Communication? We are not here to watch humans give speeches. We want to see strength, capability, proof that your species deserves to stand among us as equals." "Then you shall have it," Hana said firmly. "I propose that humans demonstrate our abilities with one of the galaxy's most challenging creatures. Choose any dangerous species you wish and we will show you what humans can do." The chamber erupted into discussion. Delegates argued among themselves. their various languages creating a symphony of alien sounds that the translation system struggled to process. Minho grabbed Hana's arm gently. "Ambassador, what are you doing?" he hissed. "We don't have any special abilities with alien creatures. This is suicide. Trust me," Hana replied quietly. "I know what I'm doing." The luminal chorus called for order and the noise gradually subsided. After several minutes of consultation among the senior council members, they reached a decision. "Very well, Ambassador Hana. Your request is approved. However, we will choose the creature for your demonstration, and we will choose something that will truly test your claimed capabilities. If you succeed, we will reconsider our assessment of humanity. If you fail, humanity will accept a reduced status in the council, serving in support roles only for the next century. Do you accept these terms?" Hana felt Taeyang tense beside her. 100 years of reduced status would cripple humanity's position in galactic politics. It would mean limited access to trade, technology, and territory, but backing down now would be even worse. Humanity would be forever viewed as cowards too weak to stand by their own words. "I accept," Hana said. The council chamber buzzed with excitement. The aliens had expected the humans to retreat, to make excuses, to delay. Instead, the human ambassador had accepted a challenge that could determine her species' fate for generations. Krex leaned forward on his platform, his forearms crossed over his massive chest. "Excellent. Then we shall see you in 3 days, Ambassador. Prepare your demonstration. We look forward to seeing what soft-skinned prey animals can truly accomplish." As the session ended and delegates began filing out, Taeyang pulled up data on his tablet, his fingers moving rapidly across the screen. "I'm searching for any creatures humans have successfully worked with that might impress them. Guard dogs? Police horses? Trained dolphins?" Hana shook her head. "Those won't be enough. They'll bring something much more dangerous, something they think will break us." "Then how are we going to survive this?" Minho asked, his professional calm finally cracking. Hana smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. "Because we have Jiwoo." Both men stared at her in confusion, but Hana was already walking toward the exit. She had 3 days to prepare and much work to do. The galaxy was about to learn something important about humanity, something that no amount of armor, weapons, or physical strength could match. They were about to learn that humans understood something fundamental about life itself, something that made them far more dangerous than any predator, and far more valuable than any warrior race. They were about to learn what it meant to be human. 2 days had passed since Hana accepted the council's challenge. Now she stood in a private viewing gallery overlooking the station's xenobiology containment sector. Beside her, Taeyang and Minho stared through the reinforced transparent wall at what waited below. The containment chamber was enormous, designed to hold the galaxy's most dangerous specimens. Right now, it held something that made even veteran station security officers refuse to enter the sector. "By all the stars," Minho whispered. "They actually brought one here." The creature pacing in the chamber below defied easy description. It resembled a massive feline from Earth, but only in the way a tiger resembles a house cat. It stretched 12 feet from nose to tail, its body covered in overlapping plates of midnight black armor that gleamed under the containment lights. 6 legs ended in obsidian claws that scarred the reinforced floor as it walked. Its head was angular and alien, with 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern that glowed with an inner amber light. "That's a Vorath," Taeyang said, reading from his tablet. His hand shook slightly as he scrolled through the information. "Native to Krell 9, a planet classified as a Category 10 death world, the highest danger classification possible." "What else?" Hana asked, not taking her eyes off the creature. Taeyang swallowed hard. "Voraths are apex predators with no natural enemies on their home world. They possess psychic abilities that project fear directly into the minds of nearby prey. Their armor can withstand plasma weapons. Their claws can cut through starship hull material. They hunt in packs in the wild, but even a single Vorath is considered a planetary-level threat." The creature below suddenly stopped pacing and turned its head upward, looking directly at their viewing gallery. Even through the reinforced walls and psychic shielding, Hana felt a cold wave wash over her. An instinctive primal fear that made her muscles tense and her heart race. The Vorath was looking at them the way a person might look at insects. "How did they capture it?" Minho asked. According to the file, the Vrexians sent an entire military battalion to Krell 9 specifically to capture one specimen. They lost over 300 soldiers in the attempt. The only reason they succeeded was because they used orbital bombardment to separate this one from its pack, then hit it with enough tranquilizer to kill an elephant. An elephant? Hana glanced at Taeyang. Sorry, Earth reference. Enough tranquilizer to kill most large creatures. The Vorath survived it because their biology is incredibly resilient. It took 6 months to transport here, and it killed 3 more handlers during transit despite being kept in stasis most of the time. Minho turned to face Hana directly. Ambassador, please tell me you're not seriously considering having someone approach that thing. Look at it, it's a living weapon. Nobody has ever successfully worked with a Vorath. Nobody has even survived close contact with one without full battle armor. Before Hana could respond, the door to the viewing gallery opened. A massive figure entered, and Hana recognized Krex, the Vrexian war leader. 2 other council members followed, the Krixathi ambassador and a representative from the crystalline Quendari species. Ambassador Hana, Krex's voice rumbled. We thought you might wish to see your challenge before the demonstration tomorrow. Magnificent, is it not? The perfect predator, the deadliest creature we could provide on short notice. Hana kept her expression neutral. It's certainly impressive. Impressive? Krex laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. It is death incarnate. My people pride ourselves as the greatest warriors in the galaxy. Yet this single beast killed 300 of our finest soldiers. And you claim humans can work with such a creature? The Krixathi ambassador clicked her mandibles. Perhaps the humans would like to withdraw their claim? There is no shame in recognizing one's limitations. You are a young species. You cannot be expected to match capabilities that take millennia to develop. It was a polite offer, but Hana heard the condescension beneath it. They were giving humanity an escape route, which meant they were absolutely certain humans would fail. In their minds, this was already over. They were just being diplomatic about letting humans surrender before anyone died. Thank you for your concern, Hana said carefully. But humans will proceed with the demonstration as agreed. Krex's expression shifted to something that might have been respect, or might have been satisfaction at seeing prey walk into a trap. Very well. The demonstration will occur tomorrow at the standard council session time. We've arranged for all delegates to attend. It will be held in the main containment arena, where everyone can observe safely. Safely for the observers, you mean? Taeyang muttered. Of course, Krex said, apparently having heard the comment. We are not barbarians. The human who attempts this demonstration will be given every chance to succeed. If at any point they wish to retreat, we will activate emergency containment fields. However, I must warn you, the Vorath is fast, very fast. If it decides to attack, even our safety systems may not respond quickly enough. The Quendari representative spoke for the first time, its voice like wind chimes. We must ask directly, Ambassador. Who will be performing this demonstration? Surely you do not intend to risk your own life in such a foolish manner. Not myself, Hana confirmed. We have a specialist. A specialist. Krex leaned forward with interest. What kind of specialist? A warrior, a hunter. Someone with genetic modifications or cybernetic enhancements? A xenobiologist, Hana said simply. The 3 alien delegates exchanged looks that clearly communicated their thoughts. A scientist. Not a warrior, not a hunter, but someone who studied alien life from safe distances. This made the humans' chances seem even more absurd. Below them, the Vorath had returned to pacing, its 6 legs moving in a hypnotic rhythm. Its tail, tipped with a blade-like appendage, swished back and forth. Every movement spoke of barely contained violence. May I ask one question? Hana said. When was this Vorath captured? Approximately 8 months ago, Krex replied. Why do you ask? And how has it been treated during that time? Krex's expression darkened. It has been contained as necessary for everyone's safety. It receives food and water. What more would a beast require? Hana nodded slowly, filing that information away. I see, thank you for showing us. We'll be prepared for tomorrow. As the 3 alien delegates left, Minho immediately turned to Hana. 8 months in a cage. That thing must be going insane. Probably, Hana agreed. She pulled out her communication device. Which is why we need Jiwoo here immediately. She needs time to observe before tomorrow. Observe? Taeyang's voice pitched higher. Ambassador, I know Jiwoo is talented, but she's 22 years old. She just graduated from the academy. And you want her to face that thing? Hana looked at her young aide with understanding. Taeyang, do you know why I requested Jiwoo for this delegation? Why I specifically asked for her to be assigned to our team? I assumed because she was a good student. She was the best student in her class. But that's not why I wanted her. Hana turned back to look at the Vorath below. I wanted her because she grew up on a wildlife preserve in Korea. Her family has worked with Earth's apex predators for 3 generations. She was raised around tigers, bears, wolves. She learned to read animal behavior before she learned to read books. Earth animals are nothing like a Vorath, Minho protested. No, Hana agreed. But the principles are the same. Fear, anger, stress, curiosity. These are universal responses. If anyone can understand what that creature is feeling, it's Jiwoo. And if she can't? Minho asked quietly. Hana didn't answer immediately. She watched the Vorath below stop suddenly and look up at their gallery again. Those 4 amber eyes seemed to look directly into her soul. She felt the fear response again. That primal urge to run that came from deep in humanity's evolutionary past. But she also saw something else. Something in the way the creature held itself. In the tension of its body and the pattern of its movements. She was no expert, but even she could see it. The Vorath wasn't just dangerous. It was terrified. Then we fail, Hana said finally. And humanity accepts the consequences. But I don't think we will fail. Because I don't think that creature down there is a monster. I think it's a person who's been taken from their home, locked in a cage and surrounded by aliens who only see it as a weapon. She turned to face both men. Get Jiwoo here now, and prepare the medical team. Tomorrow the galaxy learns something new about humans. Jiwoo arrived at the viewing gallery within an hour. She was younger than most of the delegation staff, with practical short hair and observant eyes that took in everything around her. She wore the standard uniform of Earth's Xenobiological Research Division, but she carried herself with a quiet confidence that came from years of experience with dangerous animals. When she first saw the Vorath through the viewing window, she didn't gasp or step back like most people did. Instead, she moved closer to the glass, her eyes tracking every movement the creature made. How long has it been pacing that pattern? She asked without looking away. Taeyang checked his tablet. According to the monitors, approximately 16 hours straight. Is it eating? The feeding logs show it accepts food, but barely. Maybe 30% of what the veterinary staff calculates it needs. Jiwoo nodded slowly, her expression thoughtful. And the staff who feed it, how do they deliver the food? Through an automated system. No one goes near the containment field. That's what I thought. Jiwoo finally turned to face Hana. Ambassador, thank you for calling me. I need to observe this creature for the rest of today and tonight. Is that possible? I've already arranged it, Hana confirmed. But Jiwoo, I need to be clear about what we're asking. Tomorrow you'll need to enter that containment area and demonstrate that humans can interact with the Vorath. If you have any doubts at all, tell me now. Your life is worth more than humanity's political standing. Jiwoo smiled slightly. Ambassador, I grew up with a tiger named Baram sleeping on my bedroom floor. My mother taught me to read bear body language before I was 10. My grandfather used to say that the most dangerous thing about apex predators isn't their teeth or claws. It's that humans forget they're intelligent beings with feelings and needs, not just killing machines. She looked back at the Vorath. That creature down there isn't a monster. Look at how it's moving. That's not hunting behavior. That's anxiety. Stress. It's been taken from everything it knows, locked in this space, and treated like a dangerous object instead of a living being. Of course it's aggressive. Anyone would be. Minho had been listening quietly, but now he spoke up. With all respect, this isn't a tiger or a bear. It's an alien predator from a death world. It has psychic abilities that cause fear. It's killed hundreds of trained soldiers. What makes you think the skills you learned on Earth will work here? Jiwoo considered the question seriously. You're right that it's alien. But behavior patterns are universal. Fear looks the same whether you're a human, a tiger, or apparently a Vorath. That pacing pattern, classic stress behavior. The way its tail moves, that's agitation, not hunting preparation. The position of its head, it's scanning for threats, not prey. She pulled out her own data tablet and began making notes as she watched. Look at how it moves along the far wall. It's staying as far away from the entrance as possible. That's not aggression, that's fear. And watch when station personnel walk by outside. See how its body tenses? It's not preparing to attack. It's preparing to defend itself. Taeyang moved closer to the window, looking where Jiwoo pointed. After a moment, he saw it. The Vorath's body language was defensive, not offensive. It was a subtle distinction, but once pointed out, it became obvious. So you think you can approach it safely? Hana asked. Safely? No. Jiwoo's honesty was refreshing. There's no such thing as safe when dealing with apex predators, especially stressed ones. But I think I can approach it without being attacked if I do everything right. If I read the signals correctly. If I move at the right speed, use the right body language, and show it that I'm not a threat. And if you read the signals wrong? Minyo asked. Then I'll be dead before your containment fields activate, Jiwoo said simply. But I don't plan to read them wrong. She spent the next hour just watching, making notes, occasionally asking questions about feeding times, cleaning schedules, and how the Vorath reacted to different stimuli. Gradually, a picture formed in her mind of not just a creature, but an individual being with patterns and preferences. As evening approached on the station's artificial day-night cycle, most of the staff left. Jiwoo remained sitting on the floor of the viewing gallery with her tablet, watching the Vorath with endless patience. Hana sat down beside her after sending Taeyang and Minho to rest. Tell me about growing up with predators, she said quietly. Jiwoo smiled, a genuine expression that made her look even younger. My family runs a preservation center in Korea. We work with endangered species, helping them survive and eventually return to the wild. I grew up surrounded by animals that most people only see in zoos. That must have been dangerous. Sometimes. I have scars. Jiwoo held up her left hand, showing a thin white line across her palm. A bear cub gave me that when I was 12. I startled it and it reacted defensively. It wasn't being mean or aggressive. It was scared and I made a mistake in how I approached. What did you learn from that? That every interaction is a conversation. The bear was telling me to be careful, to respect its space. I wasn't listening. After that, I learned to really observe. To watch not just what animals do, but why they do it. Jiwoo gestured toward the Vorath. That creature is having a conversation right now. It's saying, I'm scared. I'm angry. I don't understand what's happening to me. But nobody's listening. You're listening, Hana observed. I'm trying to. Jiwoo stood up and moved closer to the window. The Vorath was settling down in the far corner of its containment, its 6 legs folded under its body. Look, it's preparing to rest. But even now, all 4 eyes remain open, watching the entrance. It doesn't feel safe enough to truly sleep. She turned to Hana. Ambassador, can I ask why you're risking so much on this demonstration? The Council has already made up their minds about humanity. Even if I somehow succeed tomorrow, will it really change how they see us? Hana stood as well, coming to stand beside the young xenobiologist. Maybe not immediately, but it will plant a seed of doubt. Right now they see us as weak, fragile, and not worth taking seriously. They think our only value is as workers or servants. But if you can do something tomorrow that none of their warriors or scientists could do, it changes the narrative. It makes them reconsider what strength means. Jiwoo said, understanding. Exactly. The galaxy respects physical power, military might, technological superiority. But those aren't humanity's greatest strengths. Our greatest strength is our ability to understand, to adapt, to connect with other forms of life. If we can show them that, it opens doors that weapons never could. Jiwoo looked back at the Vorath. The creature had finally closed 2 of its 4 eyes, though the other 2 remained watchful. My grandfather used to tell me a story. There was a time when humans were prey animals on Earth. Lions, tigers, wolves, bears, they all hunted us. We were weak, slow, with no natural weapons. But we survived by learning to understand them, to predict their behavior, to work with them instead of just fighting them. And eventually we domesticated some of them, Hana added. Not domesticated, Jiwoo corrected gently. Partnered with. Dogs chose to work with humans as much as we chose them. It was mutual respect, not domination. She smiled. I can't partner with that Vorath in one day. But maybe I can show it that not all aliens are threats, that some of us just want to understand. They sat together in silence for a while, watching the massive predator rest. Finally, Hana stood to leave. Get some sleep, Jiwoo. Tomorrow is the most important day of your life. I will. But first, I need to watch it sleep. That will tell me more about its mental state than anything else. Jiwoo pulled out a small device and began recording audio. I'm going to play some sounds tonight. Low-frequency, calming patterns. Nothing that will disturb it, but maybe something that will help it rest better. Will that work? On Earth, it works with tigers and bears. Worth trying. She looked up at Hana with clear, determined eyes. Ambassador, I know what's at stake tomorrow. Not just for me, but for all of humanity. I won't let us down. Hana placed a hand on the young woman's shoulder. You could never let us down, Jiwoo. Whatever happens tomorrow, you're already the bravest person I know. After Hana left, Jiwoo settled in for the long night. She watched the Vorath sleep restlessly, its body twitching occasionally as it dreamed of something far away. She made notes, recorded observations, and gradually built a mental picture of this individual creature's personality. It was aggressive because it was frightened. It was dangerous because it was defending itself. It was considered a monster because no one had tried to see it as anything else. Tomorrow that would change. Tomorrow Jiwoo would show the galaxy what humans could really do. The containment arena was nothing like the small holding chamber Jiwoo had observed the night before. It was enormous, a circular space nearly 50 meters across with walls that rose 20 meters high. Viewing galleries ringed the upper levels, and every single seat was filled with alien delegates from across the galaxy. The air buzzed with anticipation, and the sounds of dozens of different species all talking at once. Jiwoo stood in the preparation chamber adjacent to the arena, checking her equipment one final time. She wore no armor, no protective gear of any kind, just her standard uniform and a small device clipped to her belt that emitted low-frequency sounds. Frequencies that her research suggested might be calming to large predators. Hana, Taeyang, and Minho stood with her. All three looked worried, though they tried to hide it. You don't have to do this, Minho said for perhaps the 20th time. We can find another way. We can delay, negotiate anything but this. Jiwoo smiled at him. Thank you for caring. But yes, I do have to do this. Not for politics or for Earth standing. I have to do this because I watched that creature suffer all night. Someone needs to show it that not everyone is an enemy. The medical team is standing by, Taeyang reported, his voice tight. And the containment field operators have been instructed to activate at the first sign of aggression. No, Jiwoo said firmly. Tell them to wait for my signal. If they activate too early, it will scare the Vorath and ruin everything. I need to control the pace of this interaction. Jiwoo, that's suicide, Minho protested. It's trust. She looked at each of them in turn. Trust in my training, my observations, and my instincts. I know what I'm doing. A chime sounded, indicating it was time. A voice over the speakers announced in multiple languages that the demonstration was about to begin. Jiwoo took a deep breath and walked toward the entry door to the arena. In the viewing galleries above, the crowd noise increased. Krex stood at the primary viewing platform, his forearms crossed over his massive chest. Beside him, representatives from hundreds of worlds watched with varying expressions of curiosity, skepticism, and in some cases, what looked like anticipation of watching something gruesome. The Krixathi ambassador leaned toward Krex. The human is actually going through with this. I expected them to surrender at the last moment. Their ambassador is too proud, Krex replied, or too foolish. Either way, this demonstration will end quickly. The Vorath will attack within seconds of the human entering the arena. Down below, a massive door on the opposite side of the arena began to open. The Vorath had been moved there during the night, kept in a smaller holding cell. Now that cell's outer door opened, revealing the creature to the assembled delegates. The reaction was immediate. Even species known for their bravery shifted uncomfortably in their seats as the Vorath emerged. It was even more impressive in the larger space, its midnight black armor gleaming under the arena lights. Its 4 amber eyes swept across the viewing galleries, and many delegates felt that primal fear response even through the protective barriers. The Vorath stalked into the arena slowly, its 6 legs moving with predatory grace. Its tail, tipped with that blade-like appendage, swished back and forth in clear agitation. When it reached the center of the arena, it stopped and looked around, trying to understand this new environment. Then Jiwoo's entrance door opened. The crowd fell silent as the young woman stepped into the arena. She looked impossibly small compared to the massive predator, impossibly fragile. She wore no armor, carried no weapons. She was just a human in a simple uniform, walking calmly into the space with a creature that had killed hundreds of trained warriors. The Vorath's head snapped toward her immediately. All 4 eyes focused on this new element in its environment. Its body tensed and a low rumbling sound emerged from its throat. The arena's speakers translated it automatically, a warning growl. Jiwoo stopped about 20 meters from the creature. She made no sudden movements, no threatening gestures. Instead, she slowly lowered herself to sit cross-legged on the arena floor. She didn't face the Vorath directly, but turned her body at a slight angle, a non-threatening posture she'd learned from years of working with Earth's big cats. "What is she doing?" someone in the crowd whispered. "She's making herself small," another voice answered. Reducing her apparent threat level, Jiwoo activated the device on her belt. Low-frequency sounds, barely audible to most species, filled the arena. Then she did something even more unexpected. She began to hum softly, a melody her grandmother had sung to her as a child, a traditional Korean lullaby about the moon and stars. The Voroth's growling stopped. Its head tilted slightly, an expression of confusion crossing its alien features. This tiny creature in front of it wasn't running, wasn't attacking, wasn't even looking directly at it in a challenging way. It was just sitting there making soft sounds. Slowly, carefully, the Voroth took a step forward. Then another. Its body remained tense, ready to strike or flee at any moment. But it was curious now. This was different from every other interaction it had experienced since being captured. Jiwoo continued humming, keeping her breathing calm and steady. She could feel her heart racing, feel the adrenaline flooding her system, but she controlled her body's responses. Fear was natural. Panic was deadly. She let the fear exist without letting it control her. The Voroth circled her slowly, staying about 10 meters away. It was assessing, trying to understand what she was. Its nostrils flared, taking in her scent. Its 4 eyes studied her from different angles. In the viewing galleries, no one spoke. No one moved. The entire assembled council watched in absolute silence as this unprecedented interaction unfolded. Krex leaned forward, his expression unreadable. "It hasn't attacked yet." "Why hasn't it attacked?" "She's not acting like prey," the Krixathi ambassador observed. "Prey runs. This human is showing no fear response." "She must be terrified," someone else said. "Look how small she is compared to it." But Jiwoo wasn't showing terror. She continued her soft humming, occasionally making gentle clicking sounds with her tongue, sounds similar to ones she'd used with big cats back on Earth. After several minutes of circling, the Voroth came closer, now only about 5 meters away. This was the critical moment. Too close for safety, too far for connection. Jiwoo made her decision. She slowly extended her hand, palm down, fingers relaxed, not reaching toward the Voroth but offering, letting the creature make the choice to investigate if it wanted to. The Voroth stopped moving. It stared at her hand for what felt like an eternity. Then with cautious steps it moved closer. 3 meters. 2 meters. Finally, it was close enough that Jiwoo could have touched it if she'd moved. Instead, she remained perfectly still. The Voroth lowered its massive head toward her hand, its nostrils flaring as it took in her scent. She could feel its breath on her skin, hot and carrying a strange metallic smell. She could see every detail of its armored plates, could see the intelligence in those 4 amber eyes. Time seemed to stop. The entire galaxy held its breath. Then the Voroth's head moved forward slightly and its nose touched her palm. In the viewing galleries, gasps and exclamations burst out in a dozen languages. Delegates stood up, pressing against the barriers to see better. This was impossible. This was something no one had ever witnessed before. Jiwoo felt the creature's nose against her hand, felt the heat of it, the texture of the armored plates. She slowly, carefully began to move her fingers. A gentle scratching motion, aimed at the area behind the Voroth's ear-like structure, a spot she'd noticed the creature couldn't reach easily when grooming itself. The Voroth's body tensed at first, but then gradually it began to relax. The tension in its muscles eased. Its tail stopped swishing in agitation, and then incredibly it leaned into her touch. Jiwoo continued the gentle scratching, her heart soaring with joy and relief. She began to speak softly in Korean, words that the Voroth couldn't understand but that carried tone and emotion. "You're so far from home, aren't you?" she murmured. "Scared and alone. No one treating you kindly. But I see you. I understand. You're not a monster. You're just lost." The Voroth made a sound, a deep rumbling that the translators identified as contentment. It lowered itself to the ground beside her, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from its body. This position, lying down with a small creature nearby, was one of trust, of acceptance. Jiwoo's eyes filled with tears, though she kept her voice steady. This magnificent being had been treated as nothing but a weapon, a monster, a thing to be feared. But underneath all that armor and all those claws was an intelligent creature capable of trust. Jiwoo sat beside the massive predator, her hand still gently scratching behind its ear-like structure. The Vorath had fully relaxed now, its enormous body stretched out on the arena floor with all 6 legs extended. Its 4 eyes had half closed, and that deep rumbling sound continued, vibrating through the ground. In the viewing galleries, chaos had erupted. Delegates shouted questions, demanded explanations, and argued among themselves. How was this possible? What technology was the human using? Was it some form of mind control? A chemical weapon? Genetic modification? Ambassador Hana stood at her viewing platform with Taiyang and Minho, all 3 of them watching with tears streaming down their faces. Not tears of fear, but of pride and relief. Jiwoo had done it. She had accomplished something that the galaxy said was impossible. The biological scanners show no signs of manipulation, Taiyang reported, checking his tablet with shaking hands. No pheromones, no psychic interference, no chemical agents. It's just her. Just human. Down in the arena, Jiwoo continued speaking softly to the Vorath. She ran her hand along its armored flank, feeling the overlapping plates, noticing old scars beneath them. These were wounds from its capture, she realized. Places where weapons had damaged this beautiful creature while trying to cage it. "They hurt you," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve that." The Vorath shifted slightly, bringing its massive head around to look at her more directly. All 4 amber eyes focused on her face. Jiwoo met that gaze calmly, without fear or aggression. Just open, honest connection. Then she made a decision that would change everything. She leaned forward and gently kissed the Vorath on its nose. The arena fell absolutely silent. Every delegate, every translator, every recording device captured that single moment. A young human woman, showing affection to the galaxy's deadliest predator. The Vorath's eyes widened slightly, surprised by this gesture. Then its body relaxed even further, and that rumbling sound grew louder. The translators, which had been working to identify every sound the creature made, finally found a match in their databases. "Purring," the translation system announced. "The Vorath is purring." Krek stood at his viewing platform, his 4 arms hanging loosely at his sides. His expression showed complete disbelief. "This is not possible. We sent 300 warriors. We used orbital bombardment. We lost countless resources capturing that creature. And this child just walks up and pets it?" The Kriksathi ambassador was equally stunned. There must be an explanation. Humans must possess some ability we don't know about, some form of empathic projection or biochemical influence. But the luminal chorus, the collective consciousness that served as the Council's senior advisory board, spoke with a tone of understanding. "No, look at what she's actually doing. The human is reading the creature's body language, responding to its emotional state, showing no aggression or fear. She's communicating in a language that predates technology, the language of trust." Jiwoo stood up slowly, keeping her movements calm and predictable. The Vorath watched her but didn't tense. She walked around the creature, examining it more thoroughly now that she had its trust. She found more scars, places where the armor had been damaged and healed imperfectly. "You've been through so much," she said softly. "But you survived. You're strong, not just physically but emotionally. Most creatures would have broken under this kind of treatment, but you held on." The Vorath rose to its 6 feet, standing beside her. It was massive, towering over her small human frame. One swipe of its claws could end her life instantly. But instead of violence, it did something no one expected. It leaned its head down and gently pressed it against her shoulder, a gesture that clearly meant affection. Jiwoo wrapped her arms around the Vorath's neck as much as she could reach, hugging the massive creature. "You're going to be okay," she promised. "I'll make sure of it. No more cages. No more being treated as a weapon. You deserve better." In the viewing galleries, the silence broke into conversation again, but this time the tone was different. Less mockery, less disbelief. Now there was wonder, curiosity, and in some cases, shame. A delegate from the Peltharian Consortium spoke up. "We have 3 Voraths in military containment on our homeworld. We've been trying to train them as war beasts for 15 years. We've never made progress. We thought they were simply too aggressive to work with." "Perhaps they were too aggressive because you were trying to force them instead of understanding them," Hana said, her voice carrying through the chamber. "Humans learned long ago that true partnership comes from mutual respect, not domination." Krex descended from his viewing platform, making his way toward the arena floor. His expression was complex, showing both anger and something that might have been respect. When he reached the arena level, he called out to Jiwoo. "Human, how did you do this? What technology did you use?" Jiwoo looked up at the massive Vrexian leader. "No technology, just observation and patience. I watched this Vorath all night. I learned how it moves, what frightens it, what calms it. I treated it like an intelligent being instead of a monster. But my warriors, the ones who died capturing it, they were the finest soldiers in the galaxy." "I'm sure they were," Jiwoo said gently, "but they approached it as warriors approaching an enemy. They saw a threat to be conquered. I approached it as one being meeting another, looking for understanding." The Vorath had been watching this exchange closely. When Krex took a step closer to the arena entrance, it moved to place itself between him and Jiwoo, a protective gesture. The message was clear. This human had earned its trust and protection. Krex stopped, seeing the threat in the Vorath's posture, but he also saw something else. The creature wasn't mindlessly aggressive now. It was making intelligent decisions, protecting something it valued. This was not the behavior of a simple beast. "You've shown us something today," Krex said slowly. "Something we did not expect. Humans possess a capability we have overlooked." Ambassador Hana joined Krex at the arena level, Taeyang and Minho close behind. "Humanity has many capabilities that aren't immediately obvious," she said. "We survived on a world filled with apex predators not by being stronger than them, but by learning to coexist with them. We domesticated wolves into dogs, worked alongside horses, partnered with dozens of species. This is what we bring to the galactic community. Not superior weapons or technology, but the ability to bridge gaps between different forms of life." The Quindari representative, who had been silent until now, spoke with crystal chimes in its voice. "We must acknowledge what we have witnessed. The human demonstrated capabilities that our finest scientists and warriors could not. This changes our assessment of humanity's value to the Council." Other delegates began voicing agreement. The mood in the chamber had shifted dramatically. What started as a demonstration meant to humiliate humans had become a revelation about humanity's unique strengths. Jiwoo sat back down on the arena floor, and the Vorath immediately settled beside her again, its massive head resting on her lap. She continued gently scratching its armor plates, finding the spots that made it lean into her touch. "Ambassador," she called up to Hana, "I have a request. This Vorath needs to go home. It needs to return to Krell 9, to its pack, to its proper environment. Keeping it here is cruel." Krex bristled at that. "That creature is Vrexian property. We captured it at great cost." "You captured a person," Jiwoo corrected firmly, "an intelligent being with emotions and social needs. And you've been torturing it by keeping it in isolation." She looked directly at Krex. "How would you feel if aliens came to your world, killed your comrades, and locked you in a cage?" The question hung in the air. Krex had no answer. The luminal chorus spoke again. "The human raises a valid ethical concern. We have classified Voraths as non-sapient predators, but clearly they possess significant intelligence and emotional complexity. The Council must reconsider this classification." Furthermore, Hana added, "If the Council agrees to return this Vorath to its homeworld, humanity offers to assist other species with similar situations. We can help you understand the creatures you've classified as monsters. We can build bridges where you've only seen barriers." The delegates began discussing this proposal among themselves. The potential was enormous. How many other species had been misunderstood? How many conflicts had arisen from inability to communicate? Jiwoo continued sitting with the Vorath, watching the political discussions above with less interest than she had in the creature beside her. She had accomplished what she came to do. She had shown this magnificent being that not all aliens were enemies. She had given it a moment of peace and connection in months of fear and isolation. The Vorath looked at her with all four eyes, and she felt a connection that transcended species, transcended language. It was the same connection she'd felt with the tigers and bears of her childhood. The recognition of one conscious being by another, meeting in trust and mutual respect. This was what it meant to be human. The council chambers had transformed from a place of mockery into a space of intense debate. 3 hours had passed since Jiwoo's demonstration, and the delegates showed no signs of reaching a quick consensus. The viewing galleries remained full, though the Vorath had been returned to its holding area with Jiwoo accompanying it to ensure the transfer went smoothly. Now Jiwoo stood before the assembled council, flanked by Ambassador Hana, Taeyang, and Minho. She looked tired but determined, her uniform still bearing dust from sitting on the arena floor. Krek stood at his platform, and for the first time since humans had joined the council, he wasn't laughing. The human achieved what she claimed. That cannot be denied, but I demand an explanation. Independent medical teams have confirmed no technology was used, no chemical agents, no psychic manipulation. So how is this possible? Jiwoo stepped forward to speak. May I explain by asking a question first? Commander Krex, how did your warriors approach the Vorath when trying to capture it? Krex's expression darkened with memory. We tracked it to a canyon on Krell 9. My soldiers surrounded it using standard hunter protocols. We used energy nets, sonic disruptors, and stun weapons. The creature fought back, killing many before we finally subdued it. You surrounded it, Jiwoo repeated. You trapped it in a canyon with no escape route. You hit it with weapons. From the Vorath's perspective, what did that look like? It looked like an attack, the Kriksathi ambassador said slowly, understanding dawning. Exactly, Jiwoo confirmed. You approached it as enemies, so it responded as if you were enemies. It was defending itself. Every interaction since has been similar. Containment fields, automated feeding systems, handlers in full armor staying far away. No positive contact. No trust building. Just continuous threat signals. She pulled up her tablet and projected images onto the chamber's display screens. They showed footage from the previous night. Videos of the Vorath pacing restlessly in its cell. I spent all night observing this creature. Look at its body language here. This is stress behavior. This is an intelligent being suffering from isolation and fear. It's the same behavior pattern we see in Earth's apex predators when they're kept in poor conditions. Depression, anxiety, aggression born from fear. Taeyang added data to the display. We've compared the Vorath's behavior to documented cases of big cats in captivity on Earth. The correlation is significant. The Vorath wasn't being a monster. It was responding normally to traumatic conditions. But humans work with your apex predators successfully, a delegate from the Peltharian Consortium said. How? Time, patience, and respect, Jiwoo answered. On Earth, we learned thousands of years ago that you can't force a predator to cooperate. You have to earn trust, build relationship, show that you're not a threat while also not acting like prey. She showed more images, these from Earth's wildlife preserves. Tigers being examined by veterinarians, bears being relocated, wolves interacting with human researchers. In every image, the humans showed no fear but also no aggression. They moved with calm confidence. My family has worked with dangerous animals for 3 generations. My grandfather taught me that the most dangerous moment isn't when an animal is aggressive. It's when humans forget that animals are intelligent beings with emotions, needs, and the capacity to understand. When you treat them only as threats, they become threats. The luminal chorus pulsed with thoughtful colors. The human describes a fundamental philosophical difference in approach. Most galactic species encounter dangerous creatures and immediately think of 3 options: avoid them, kill them, or capture and control them. Humans apparently developed a 4th option. Understand them, Hana confirmed. Not control. Not dominate. Understand and coexist. Earth is a death world, though you never classified it as such. We have hurricanes that level cities, earthquakes that reshape continents, volcanic eruptions, deadly diseases, and dozens of species that can easily kill humans. We survive not by conquering all of them, but by learning to live alongside them. Taeyang brought up new data. Earth's current classification in galactic records is Garden World, Category 3, but based on objective criteria, it should be Death World, Category 7. We have more apex predators per square kilometer than most classified death worlds. Our weather systems are more violent. Our diseases more varied. Earth even rotates faster and has higher gravity than 80% of inhabited worlds. This information caused an uproar in the chamber. Delegates checked their own records, compared data, and found that Taeyang was correct. Earth had been massively underestimated in its danger level. You evolved on a death world, Krek said slowly. Your species is adapted to conditions that would kill most of us. Yet you appear weak because you lack armor, claws, or natural weapons. We don't need those things, Minho spoke up for the first time. Humans developed intelligence and social cooperation. We survived by working together, by observing patterns, by adapting to whatever came. Yes, we're physically weaker than most species here, but we're also more flexible, more adaptable, and apparently better at understanding other forms of life. A delegate from the Vaxian Collective, a species known for scientific achievement, spoke up. This explains some anomalies we've noticed about humans. Your species shows unusual resilience to diseases, adapts quickly to different gravity environments, and recovers from injuries faster than predicted. We attributed it to good medical technology, but perhaps it's simply that you evolved in much harsher conditions than we realized. Furthermore, the Vaxian continued, if humans can understand and work with creatures like the Vorath, creatures that we've considered impossible to approach safely, then humanity offers capabilities to the galactic community that we desperately need. What do you mean? Hana asked. There are dozens of worlds we cannot colonize or even explore properly because of dangerous native fauna. Death worlds with resources we need but cannot safely access. If humans can bridge the gap, can find ways to coexist with these creatures rather than simply exterminating them, it opens possibilities we've never considered. Other delegates began voicing agreement. The conversation shifted from questioning humanity's worth to discussing how human capabilities could benefit everyone. But Krex held up one of his forearms, calling for silence. I acknowledge what the human achieved today. It was impressive, but before we celebrate too much, I must ask a difficult question. He looked directly at Jiwoo. Young human, you made that demonstration look easy, but was it? Tell us honestly, were you afraid? Jiwoo met his gaze without flinching. I was terrified. Every second I was in that arena, my body was screaming at me to run. That's natural. The Vorath is an apex predator, and my instincts recognize the danger. But fear is just information. It tells you to be careful, to be respectful, to pay attention. I didn't let the fear control me. I acknowledged it and worked with it. You felt fear but approached anyway, the Krixathi ambassador said. That is the definition of courage. Or foolishness, Krex countered, but his tone was less harsh now. But I see your point. My warriors felt the same fear, but they responded by increasing aggression, thinking strength would overcome it. Perhaps that was the mistake. Hana saw an opening in the conversation. Commander Krex, you mentioned earlier that the Voraths cost you 300 soldiers and enormous resources to capture just one. What if there was another way? What if, instead of fighting them, we could communicate with them, learn what they need, perhaps even recruit them as willing partners? Krex's expression showed he was considering it. You're suggesting that the Voraths might work with us voluntarily? I'm suggesting it's worth trying, Hana replied. Jiwoo spent a few hours observing and one session building trust. Imagine what could be achieved with proper time and approach. Maybe the Voraths aren't enemies at all. Maybe they're potential allies you've been fighting unnecessarily. The luminal chorus spoke again. The council must make a decision. Do we continue viewing humanity as weak and unsuitable for full membership? Or do we recognize that strength takes many forms and humanity possesses strengths we lack? A vote was called. Delegates consulted with their home governments, analyzed data, and debated among themselves. Jiwoo stood calmly through it all, though she was exhausted. Minho offered her a chair, which she gratefully accepted. Finally, after 2 more hours of discussion, the luminal chorus announced the results. The Galactic Council hereby revotes humanity's status. Earth is reclassified as Death World Category 7. Humans are recognized as survivors and adapters of the highest order. Full council membership is granted with additional privileges. The chamber erupted in sound. Some delegates applauded, others voiced objections, but the majority seemed satisfied with the decision. Furthermore, the luminal chorus continued, humanity is offered a new role, ambassadors of understanding. Humans will assist other species in situations involving difficult or dangerous native fauna. A new division will be created headed by human specialists. Hana bowed formally. On behalf of humanity, we accept. Krex descended from his platform and approached the human delegation. He looked at Jiwoo directly. You shame my pride today, young human. Part 7. New respect and partnership. 6 months had passed since the demonstration that changed everything. Jiwoo stood on the observation deck of the research vessel Harmony, watching through the massive windows as Krell 9 rotated slowly below. The planet was beautiful in a harsh way, with deep canyons, towering mountains, and vast forests that covered most of its surface. Today was an important day. Today the Vorath was going home. Taeyang approached from behind carrying 2 cups of tea. I thought you might want something warm. The ship's environmental controls are set for Vrexian comfort, which means it's freezing for humans. Jiwoo accepted the tea gratefully. Thank you. I'm too excited to feel cold, though. After 6 months, I finally get to see it free again. The past half-year had been transformative, not just for Jiwoo personally, but for humanity's position in the galaxy. The Council had been true to its word, establishing the Interspecies Understanding Division with Jiwoo as its director despite her young age. No one could argue with her qualifications after what she'd accomplished. How many requests are we up to now? Jiwoo asked. Taeyang consulted his tablet. 47 species have requested human assistance with wildlife management. 12 have asked for help with creatures they're in active conflict with. And the Peltharian Consortium wants you personally to visit their Vorath containment facility. That's the one with 3 Voraths they've been trying to use as military assets? For 15 years with no success and significant casualties among their handlers. Taeyang showed her images of the facility. They've agreed to try your approach instead. Full cooperation, unlimited time, and a commitment to release the Voraths if you determine they should be freed. Jiwoo studied the images. The 3 Voraths looked as stressed and unhappy as her Vorath had been when she first saw it. We'll go there next, after I make sure this one gets home safely. Ambassador Hana entered the observation deck, followed by Minho and a contingent of Vrexian scientists. Krex had sent his best xenobiology team, and they'd spent the past 6 months working alongside Jiwoo, learning her methods. To everyone's surprise, the Vrexians had proven to be dedicated students once they got past their initial pride. Director Jiwoo, one of the Vrexian scientists, said formally. They still insisted on using her new title even though she'd asked them to just call her Jiwoo. We've prepared the release site. The tracking team has located what we believe is the subject's original pack. Are they healthy? Safe? Jiwoo asked immediately. They appear to be thriving. The pack consists of 7 adults and 4 juveniles. They've been hunting successfully and show no signs of distress. Jiwoo felt relief wash over her. 6 months ago, they'd placed a tracking beacon on the Vorath, one that would allow them to monitor it after release but wouldn't interfere with its life. Extensive planning had gone into selecting the right release location, the right time, everything needed to give it the best chance of reintegrating with its pack. Is it ready? Hana asked. Let's find out, Jiwoo said. They made their way to the ship's containment area. This wasn't like the prison cell on the station. This was a spacious, comfortable environment with proper lighting, places to climb, and enrichment activities. Over the past 6 months, the Vorath had gained weight. Its armor had regained its shine, and its overall health had improved dramatically. When Jiwoo entered the containment area, the Vorath immediately came to her. It had learned to recognize her footsteps, her scent, her presence. It pressed its massive head against her shoulder in the greeting gesture they'd developed together. Hello, beautiful, Jiwoo said softly, scratching behind its ears. Today's the day. You're going home, the Vorath rumbled, that deep purring sound that still amazed everyone who heard it. Over the months, Jiwoo had learned to distinguish different tones in its vocalizations. This one meant contentment and trust. She'd also learned so much more about Voraths in general. They were highly intelligent, with problem-solving abilities comparable to Earth's dolphins or elephants. They had complex social structures, sophisticated hunting strategies, and even what appeared to be cultural practices passed down through generations. Everything the galaxy had thought about them being mindless monsters was wrong. The Vrexian scientists had documented everything. Their reports were already changing how the galactic community viewed not just Voraths, but all creatures previously classified as non-sapient predators. How many other species had been misunderstood? How many were actually intelligent beings that humans could potentially communicate with? We're approaching the landing site, the ship's captain announced over the speakers. The Harmony descended through Krell 9's atmosphere, carefully avoiding the territorial areas of other Vorath packs. They landed in a clearing near the canyon system where the Vorath had originally been captured, specifically chosen because its pack frequented the area. Jiwoo led the Vorath to the ship's cargo bay, where a large door opened onto Krell 9's surface. The moment the door opened, the Vorath's entire body language changed. Its nostrils flared, taking in the sense of home. Its 4 eyes widened, scanning the familiar landscape. A sound emerged from its throat, something between a roar and a cry. that the translators identified as joy. "Go on," Jiwoo said softly, tears already streaming down her face. "Go home, find your family." The Vorath looked at her one last time. Then it leaned down and gently pressed its nose against her forehead, a gesture of affection and farewell. It rumbled one final time before turning and bounding out of the ship with incredible speed and grace. Everyone crowded around the cargo bay opening, watching as the Vorath ran across the landscape. Its 6 legs carried it swiftly over rough terrain, heading toward the canyon system. Jiwoo tracked its movement through her tablet, which showed both visual feed and the signal from its tracking beacon. Within 10 minutes, the Vorath reached a ridge overlooking a valley. It stopped there and roared, a sound that echoed across the landscape. In the distance, other roars answered. "The pack is responding," one of the Rexian scientists reported, excitement in his voice. Multiple signatures heading this way. Through the long-range cameras, they watched as 7 other Voraths emerged from the canyon, running toward the ridge. The moment they saw the returned pack member, they surrounded it, touching it with their noses, making those rumbling, purring sounds. Jiwoo couldn't stop crying. It's reuniting with its family. Look at them. They're welcoming it back. The Voraths circled each other, clearly communicating in ways that transcended simple animal behavior. This was social bonding, family connection. After 6 months of separation, the pack was whole again. "This changes everything we thought we knew about Voraths," a Rexian scientist said quietly. "We've been trying to use them as solitary military assets, but they're pack animals, social creatures. Separating them causes psychological trauma. Many Earth predators are social," Jiwoo explained, wiping her eyes. "Wolves, lions, dolphins, even humans. We need our communities. When you take a social creature away from its pack, you break something essential inside it. No wonder the Peltharian Voraths are so aggressive. They're not just imprisoned, they're completely isolated from their own kind." Hana placed a hand on Jiwoo's shoulder. "You've given us proof of what you always said. These aren't monsters. They're people. Different from us, yes, but people nonetheless." The group watched for another hour as the Vorath pack moved together, heading back toward the canyon. The returned member seemed to be telling its story somehow, based on the way the others kept touching it and making various sounds. Eventually, they disappeared into the canyon system, back to their normal lives. "Tracking beacon is stable," Taeyang reported. "We'll be able to monitor its health and location without interfering. The research team can gather data on natural Vorath behavior without disturbing them." Minho had been quiet throughout, but now he spoke. "6 months ago, I thought this mission was suicide. I thought we'd lose you, Director. But you've proven something important. Not just about Voraths or about humans, about what's possible when we approach others with respect instead of fear." Jiwoo smiled at him. "Thank you for not letting your fear stop you from supporting me. That takes courage too." As the Harmony lifted off from Krell 9, Jiwoo took one last look at the planet below. Somewhere in those canyons, a Vorath was back with its family, free and happy. That was worth everything. 3 weeks later, Jiwoo stood in a facility on the Peltharian home world, looking at 3 Voraths in separate containment cells. They paced restlessly, showed signs of severe stress, and had numerous scars from their interactions with handlers and from self-harm behaviors born of isolation. "This is going to take time," she told the Peltharian facility director. "These Voraths have been traumatized for 15 years. We need to start by improving their living conditions, then slowly building trust. And eventually, they need to meet each other. They're pack animals kept in isolation. That alone is torture. We'll give you whatever resources you need," the director assured her. "After seeing your reports from Krell 9, we understand we've been doing this completely wrong." Jiwoo got to work. The process was slow and challenging, but after 3 months she achieved her first breakthrough. The first Vorath accepted her touch. After 6 months, all 3 were comfortable with her. After 9 months,